Boom, we're live again. Hey, how you doing? Martin Lopez here. And 2022 is also here, and it's time to focus on what we want to accomplish. Like, what are your goals? How do you want your life to turn out? What experience do you want for your life in 2022? Now, I know most people focus on what we call New Year's resolutions. What are those? Like I want to lose weight. I want to, I looked up a whole bunch of them, and I don't even remember those what I looked up, but there's a whole bunch of New Year's resolutions, and most people focus on New Year's resolutions, right? Make more money, blah, 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 all these little things. And they're all great ideas. They're really, really great ideas. The problem is that they don't work. And they don't work, but still you do it anyways. You still go, what's your New Year's resolution? And you say, this is my New Year's resolution. And I was just talking to somebody on the phone a little while ago, and they asked me, like, what is your New Year's resolution? And I said that I don't focus on New Year's resolutions. I focus on something called qualities. And they were like, what are you talking about? Qualities. So I had to run home real quick and pull up my focus list for 2022. And I'm going to show you what I mean. And I have a 2020, this is my 2021 focus list. I have a 2022 one, but I haven't printed it yet. So I'm still working on a couple things. So let me give an example of what I mean by focusing on qualities. Okay. So this is how I came up with it. So a couple years ago, what I did is I noticed that as I was trying to like work on different characteristics of myself, like I wanted to have certain qualities in myself, and I didn't call them qualities at that point. I just knew there was things about me that I wanted to change. I wanted to improve, right? I wanted to, so I'll go into what those things are. And what I would do, before that is I would say, I'm going to have a resolution, like make more money, become, lose weight. I'm going to spend more, like maybe, okay, spend more time with my kids or something, coach more baseball teams. There were things that I wanted to do. And those are really, really great ideas, guys. Yeah, we all have things in our life that we want to do. But what I realized in those resolutions is that what I was doing is I was focusing on how do I say it? My focus was on stuff that I didn't have. So if I'm focusing on stuff I don't have, I'm going to have more of what I don't have, right? It's like, think about this. Like, so if you think about the war on drugs, right? The war on drugs. Oh, if you're going to have a war on drugs, if you're going to keep the war going, you got to have drugs still, right? So it's not necessarily like what you really want, which is, my focus is to have children that are sober, to have adults that aren't drinking and driving, right? There's a difference, right? And so, like when you're against something, so like, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, awesome organization, except for, in my opinion, is that you keep repeating the point of the thing that you don't want. So it's like rather than focus on being sober, we're focusing on being drunk. A resolution is like that. A resolution is like that in the sense, and I know maybe I'm reaching. Okay, Martin, you're reaching, right? But maybe just bear with me. So maybe it's the same in that if you're focused on like losing weight, then you're constantly like worried about what you weigh. You're constantly focusing on the thing how much you weigh. If you're focusing on making more money, then your focus is like, if your resolution is to make more money, then your focus is it comes from, I don't have enough money, right? So you're not focusing on abundance. You're focusing actually on scarcity. You're not focusing on health. You're focusing on not having health, right? So what I saw was that I was coming up with the things I wanted in my life based on other people. So I would watch other people, like, how we watch people. So I'm literally watching other people and going, that person is like, has this quality, and that person's like this, and that person's like this. So what I said I'm going to do is I'm going to write, what I did is I wrote down, let's say 10 people that I really like. There's 10 people I like this person, I like that person, I like this person, I like her, I like him, I like, these are people. But then why do I like them? What about them is something I like? So I wrote down the people's names, and then I wrote about them what I liked. So let's say I wrote Steven. I like that he wakes up in the morning. I like that he works out every morning. I like that he makes phone calls every day. Kyle, for a good friend of mine, Kyle Whistle. I like that he's a huge broker in San Diego. I like that he's very focused. He's very clear about what he wants to achieve, and he always does it. He's committed. He keeps doing it over and over and over. So I started to write down all the things that these people that I liked, these qualities that they had, right? And then what I did is I took that list. So I had names, and then I had a list. And then I took the list and I circled the ones that I repeated. And then what I did is I looked up the definitions of those words, because it's really important that so often we use words. This is what we talk about in the curiosity theory and men's breakthrough, is that so often that as human beings, we're using words to explain something, but but sometimes we're not using the correct definition of that word. We're not using that word as it's defined. So I want to be really, really clear. If I'm going to put a quality out there that I like, I'm going to be real crystal clear on what that quality is. How do I define that quality? Not just like a word, but how do I define that quality? So in the curiosity theory and men's breakthrough, when we talk about communicating with other people, and people are communicating with us, or they're saying something, they're telling us something, right? It is really, really important that we understand what their definition of what they're saying to us is. For instance, like if somebody's sharing with us, like, I'm feeling really nervous today, about maybe something, right? And so I'm in the mortgage business, right? So and I coach. So let's say someone's telling me like I feel real nervous about something, right? And I assume that how they're experiencing nervous is the same way that I experience nervous. How they define nervous is the same way I define nervous. So if that's where I stop, then the conversation has to, it means that how I'm interpreting them being nervous is exactly the way I define it, but I haven't figured out how they see themselves as being nervous. So what I want to do, what I do is I get curious. So I'm curious, what do you mean by you're nervous? And then somebody would say something like, you know what, every time I sign my name, I get real nervous, like someone's gonna, steal my signature and then steal my identity. Oh, I would not define being nervous because of that personally. My definition of nervous is I'm scared. I'm scared about maybe taking on this big loan or buying a house, or can I make the payments? Am I going to skip payments? Like that. So I have like 4 or 5 different things that I'm saying why I'm nervous. And I'm now operating with the other person as though that person is using my definition, right? So it's really important that we be curious and we understand what the other person means by what they say. So let's get back to the original point, focusing on qualities, not on resolutions. So when I started to look at qualities that I wanted in my life, what I did is like I said, I wrote a list of all the people that I liked certain things about, like the top 10 people. I wrote what I liked about them. What do they do? Like, what was special about them? Like, somebody was like, this person's really determined, or this person's really like, studious, or this person is really industrious, or this person seems really confident, or they seem real courageous or something. So I started to get all those words. And then as I got those words, I picked, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I picked the top 7 of those words. And I probably had about 20 or 30 different words that I picked out, or when I was able to define other people. And I picked the ones that really, really resonated for me. So rather than say, so I'm going to give them to you. So this is it right here. Okay. So let me do it this way. So the first one was fit, right? So let's say I take my friend Steven, right? And I say, Steven's very fit. He takes care of himself, right? So then I want to understand what am I saying? Because what I do is every day I read these 7 words every single day, because I want the qualities that I want to have in my life be what drives my life. You see, it's different than resolution, because now I'm not like trying to go, oh, wow, I shouldn't eat this, I shouldn't eat that, or I got to save this money, I got to save that money. And it becomes a chore. And it becomes like I'm trying to push through something that's wrong. Instead, what it is when I focus on qualities, I'm now giving myself a gift every time of actually being a particular person, a particular way, the way that I want to be. So that's exciting. See the difference? The difference is in resolutions, it's kind of like, I'm bad, I got to fix this. Qualities are, man, this is the kind of human being I want to be. This is the kind of man I want to be. I want to be a particular type of man. Like, this is what I see myself as fully as being the greatest version of myself, you see? versus like, oh my God, I'm just fat or I eat too much or I spend too much money or, I need to clean my house more. There's all these things, but it's all judgments versus. So when you're dealing with a judgment, then how people respond to judgments or how we react to judgments is that it's a reptilian mode. So it's like the fight or flight. It's like, oh my God, I'm scared. If I don't clean my house, then I'm not doing what I said I'm going to do. If I don't go work out, I'm not doing what I said I'm going to do. Oh, I suck. And you just keep going down. Versus if I say I want to work on a quality of being fit, which is in good health, especially because of regular physical exercise. So I read that every single day. I want to be fit. I want to be in good health, especially because of regular physical exercise. Now that becomes compelling. That becomes something that's compelling. Now I want to do that. You see, I'm doing something because the result of my actions is getting a quality, having a way of being that I didn't have at the level at which I want to have it. Does that make sense? So, for instance, today it's 1:43 right now. I'm going to be at MRock Gym at 3:30. So, in order to get to MRock, in order to get to the gym, in order to do all the stuff I'm going to do today, I have to then be really effective at my day in the daytime. So I have to drive to El Cajon. I had to pick someone up at the airport. I've got to go out to Scripps Ranch right now. I got to drop off some paperwork for somebody. I've got all this stuff to do, and that makes me more effective. Because I want to be fit, and then for lunch, rather than have a sandwich or rather than have something like I used to have a long time ago, I had tuna. I had tuna with avocado, a little avocado mayonnaise, onions, and it's like that's all. So I had something like that. So because what I want to do is I want a quality of my life. I want to experience this quality, and qualities are things you experience. I now experience being fit. And rather than making myself wrong, going, oh my God, you're just fat, I don't do that. I look and I say, what is the quality I want? I want the quality of being fit. And so this last year, I was able to, so I didn't even know I was going to do the Spartan race. So at the beginning of the year, I put these qualities down. So guess what? Fit. In October 17th, 2021, I ran the Spartan race, the second hardest Spartan race in the world. I ran that at 56 years old. 2 weeks before I was 57 years old. That wasn't on the radar. That changed my life. I'm living my life inspired like that. And I'm excited about going and working out right now. It's going to be a really hard workout because my focus is on a quality. It's not making myself wrong for all this extra weight I carry. And I probably carry 40, 50 pounds of extra weight. So I'm not making myself wrong. I'm making myself right. And I'm building qualities. Does that make sense? Another quality is being determined. Being determined. I have a lot of friends that are incredibly determined, right? And I was like, man, I noticed myself. I like that about them. And that's a quality I would like to build in myself. I want to be more of a determined person so that I want to approach life more determined. So let me look and see what I meant by that. And I looked at the definition is having made a firm decision and being resolved not to change it. So it's like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make decisions and I'm going to resolve myself not to change those decisions, which means I'm going to follow through on what I say I'm going to do, which builds my ability to keep my word first, because we got to keep our word. And then the habit of keeping my word then allows me to now give my word to bigger things. Does that make sense? See, you're not going to give your word to anything that's really, really important. You're not going to give your word. You're not going to give your word to anything that requires risk if you don't have a relationship with keeping your word. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of people that say, I always do what I say. That's not what I'm talking about. There's a difference there. There's a lot of people who will tell me in the course, they'll go, well, Martin, I always do what I say. I got it. So what do you say you're going to do? And they don't have anything. They go, I don't know. If I say I'm going to call you, I'm going to call you. If I say I'm going to pay this bill, I'm going to pay this bill. It's not like stuff that's like that changes your life. See, if you're going to give your word to something, right? If what you want is to be determined, and what it's going to take is for you to give your word to something big, you got to risk. You got to be willing to risk. And if all you're doing is just saying, hey, I always keep my word. Yeah, I do what I say I'm going to do. But you don't really give your word to anything big. It doesn't really call you out. So when you start to keep your word, when you start to give your word and keep your word, then you you have a habit of that, and then you then start to risk your word. Like I was talking to a buddy of mine this morning, and I was saying, what you start to do is you start to risk. You start to say, I'm going to do something that is bigger than I'm used to doing. I'm going to take on this thing, and the only way that I know that I even have a chance of doing it, I have a chance of accomplishing it, is because you know what I do is I actually follow through on what I say I'm going to do. What comes out of my mouth, I actually follow through on that. So that's where determined came for me. And then committed, which is loyalty to a cause, activity, or job, wholeheartedly dedicated. I like that whole definition. I like that. So when I read about being committed, so I say, Martine, I'm going to be committed today. I'm going to be committed to what I'm going to be committed and determined to what I say I'm going to do. That means I'm going to have a loyalty to what I say. It's a cause, right? It's an activity that I'm going to do. It's a job, and I'm going to be wholeheartedly dedicated to that. Very, very powerful. That's different than a resolution. Courageous. And a lot of people say, oh, Martine, you're really courageous. I get that all the time. People say, dude, you're so brave because you do these videos. You're so brave because you do the stuff that you do. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. But courage is not about what I'm doing already. It's not about like, I always do what I say I'm going to do. It doesn't take any courage to always do what you say you're going to do if all you ever say you're going to do is the same thing. See, courage requires risk. Courage requires the fact that you may fail. And there's a good chance that you're going to fail. But I'm going to be determined. I'm going to be committed. And I'm fit because I work out. So I'm going to be able to sustain myself through a longer time. You see how that works? That's why working on qualities is more powerful than working on resolutions. So I'm going to ask you, thank you for listening. I'll go over the last two. And industrious, talented, and confident. And it was funny when I wrote talented, is a couple of my friends, when I shared this, they said, talented, you're really, really talented. You play the bass, you play the saxophone, you play the keyboard, you're a really talented person. I said, yeah, I am. But what I noticed myself is I learned a skill and then I didn't dive deeper into that skill. See, I learned the bass, but I didn't dive deeper into the bass. So, and I learned how to do videos, but I didn't dive deeper into what I wanted to do in the videos. See, now I put notes, now I take notes, now I study, I read the videos and I build on it. So my talent, right? My ability to be talented, with my natural aptitude, my natural skill is growing because I am spending time studying the skills that I want to learn. So there's talent, but then there's also studying what you want to be good at. And then that creates aptitude, that creates a skill, that keeps a deeper skill. That's what I'm talking about. So when you're setting your year up, 2022, it's the 4th of January, and we got 361 days to go here. Most people are barely writing their goals out. I want to suggest to you, when you write your goals out, not only write your goals out, but write out what qualities you're going to need to have, or what qualities, rather, not what you need to have, because I'm going to say this differently. I want to suggest you write down what qualities you want to have. What qualities are going to build you in your character? What virtuous qualities do you want to have? So at the end of the year, you look back and you're unrecognizable. You're not the same person that started the year, because of who you are and the qualities that you have and what you do and how you do it is at a different level. So we can all start this year and finish this year just to get through it. We can all do what we say we're going to do. But a few of us are willing to say, I'm going to do something that's bigger than myself. A few of us are willing to say, I am actually going to change who I am. Not that there's nothing wrong with my life, but the way I want to live my life is I want to live my life at this next level. I want my life to be greater tomorrow than it was yesterday, and greater than it is today. And today my life is greater than it was yesterday. And I want to have a different experience of life. And my experience of life is in direct correlation to the qualities that I have. If I'm determined, if I'm confident, if I'm courageous, if I'm industrious, if I'm focused, if I'm fit, if I'm talented, if I'm committed, all those things are directly correlated to the experience I'm going to have in my life. So I'm going to ask you again, focus on qualities, not on resolutions. I'll see you tomorrow. Hope this helps. Please share this with anybody. Like